This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have Njeri Thorne, lawyer, political strategist, an insider in the corridors of power, ready to take on any side of the debate with her signature eloquence and grit. C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Indeed, the only way to start your day. And today, we are starting your day with the talk on vacillating politicians of the Republic of Kenya. And C.T. Muga is basically saying that this is the nature of our politicians. And Okoh is not happy about this because he's saying, well, really, why do we have this kind of people and why do we keep electing them?
I dare say that we don't realize the power that we have. We may know, but we don't understand just how powerful we are as the people who hold we are the ones who hold the ticket to put people in power year after year, or rather term after term. And I think that politicians know this. They know how powerful you are, and they don't want you to realize how far you can go with the power that you hold. And that's why we have situations like this. So we can keep people, surrounded around this 200 shillings, 500 shillings you give them at the time of election, or you can go and you can cloud them with the promises of development of a particular road, or the promises of a particular dam that you would build or not build, or spend money on or not spend money on. And then you have people then also vacillating around the idea of a leader that's going to take them from point A to point B. So they vacillate, but they don't move forward because we don't realize the power that we have with the vote that we hold in our hand. And that's why it's easy for them to continue doing this. You have somewhere where you believe that an ideal or an ideology was born and has been nourished and is going to take you somewhere. But then that changes. How is it that something that the backbone of what you believe or how you should operate then changes from one day to the next, and you hope or intend to lead an entire population towards progress? It is impossible. We can't have it. And so long as people continue to live in this blinded way of doing things, that we don't realize how much power we have, where we can say, you know what, enough is enough. Let these people go, really. And let's have people in power who know what they're doing and are not vacillating, but are actually taking steps in a forward direction.
This isn't a question of elections, really. It's a question of a personal position that someone determines to take or to make. Because amidst all this vacillation, they are elected leaders who stand out. Mm-hmm. They actually do stand out. The things they do,
how they conduct themselves, what they say.
Yes, even the contribution.
For example, please name 3 of them right now.
Can I just talk right now about what's happening in Makueni, for example? When we look at development, just the other day, we talk about issues, and say, we need to start doing something about it. Here's the governor of Makueni. He doesn't talk much, right? But the things that are happening in his county, unbelievable, formidable things happening. 40 million shilling cancer center set up just within the last 2 weeks.
That's Machakos.
Machakos. And we're looking at things actually being...
Makueni or Machakos?
Machakos. I just made that correction. Mm-hmm. And we're looking at things actually being done. So it's no longer lip service, but things that are actually being done. He doesn't have to talk. How many times do you see Kibwana up there behind a microphone shouting in funerals, at weddings, talking about what he is or what he wants to do or what he purports to do? No, get down to the ground and actually get it done. These are the things that we should be looking at. Those are the kind of people that we should be looking at to say, okay, this is progress, moving forward. He doesn't change his ideology.
Talking about 2 different governors, and it's a good thing because I agree about both of them, Dr. Alfred Mutua of Machakos and Professor Kivutha Kibwana of Makueni.
I was actually talking about Makueni before you corrected me to Machakos, and then I went, but now let's come back to Kivutha because this is the area that I'm actually speaking of.
Okay.
He doesn't talk much, whereas maybe Alfred Mutua does. He doesn't talk much, but he actually gets things done. Mm-hmm. And getting things done, moving forward.
See, the point I'm making, that is Kivuta Kibwana. He's taken a lot of risks in actually getting his people to understand that form of leadership. Remember, his death, not his death, sorry. His life was threatened by death on many. In fact, he was shot at.
A number of times, actually.
Yes, unsuccessfully. One of his constituents was actually telling me that the thing that they love about the governor is that he seeks medical treatment in their own health facilities. It means they're that good.
He set up a very good one.
It was within within one of those medical facilities whereby we had the separation of co-joint, I believe it was twins, a few months ago. And it was seen that this particular case, in most cases, would have been taken out of the country. But it was actually done right there in Makweni. Those two individuals are still alive today.
So that's a good leader that you're mentioning. One.
A good leader who whose ideologies don't change, who is set on particular ideologies. That's what I'm saying. It can work. It can work.
Here's a juicy part. This one good leader that you've mentioned has actually put himself forth to become the president in 2022. Watch what happens.
Another leader who has done something similar is someone called Oparanya.
Very, very.
Wycliffe in Kakamega.
Yes, his track record is excellent. He also wants to be president in 2022.
Watch what happens.
Can he be president in 2022?
You see,
anybody can be president.
No, no.
Anybody
not
can
You've
be
got to
president.
understand the dynamics
They will
don't
not
change.
get elected.
So the same games that have been played on us previously will be played on us.
This is the point I am actually trying to make.
the
We're not
dynamics
disagreeing.
Everybody can be president.
Everybody can be president.
But in terms of
But
from
the
an
reality of
analysis,
it.
analytical point of view, if we're going to take into account what's at play right now and Luya leadership, do you think he could take that mantle? Do you think
Of Luya leadership?
he could unite the Luya people?
He can.
Luya PM.
But why are we reducing the man to Luya leader? Why?
You cannot be
Because
president.
We've got to contextualize the politics into Kenyan. We might want to avoid it, but this is the reality on the ground.
We have no hope, really.
We vote in tribal blocks. This
Yes,
is
we
the
do.
truth of the matter. So what I am asking with Oparanya, he's done very well. It's his second term. He can't go for governor again. I don't know if he can go for Senate or what he can go
He
for.
can
but
even become MP if he wants the next time.
he can, absolutely. Do you think he's going to try and unite the Luya people as a voting bloc?
Let me ask a more poignant question. Do the Luyas want to be united?
Well, it's about time they were. They need to capitalize on their numbers
I
for
disagree.
political power. Absolutely. They're second biggest tribe in Kenya. Let's be honest.
Yep.
Well, let's wait for the census. But so far, as of 10 years ago, they were the second biggest tribe in Kenya. Yet they cannot garner the numbers to even front a deputy, let alone a president.
So Njeri,
Because they're so divided. Because how many leaders, as it stands now, let's name the leaders. You've got Boni Khalwale, you've got Mudavadi, you've got Wetangula, you've now got Oparanya. Who else? Wamalwa.
There's
Any more?
There's Musikari Kombo, who you no longer hear of.
Oh,
There's
you don't
Kitui.
hear of him. He was the Juju guy, wasn't
you
he?
got
He's
Cleopas
involved in
Malala,
Juju.
you know. You've got all the
No,
governors.
but these
in the area.
those 5 prominent ones. And if you imagine, a voting block of say 2 million divided by that 5, you've got 500,000. That's what you're bringing to the table.
400 actually.
Is it? 400,000, yes.
But I'm asking you this question right now. None of us is Luya. So does it mean that unless he unites, none of us can give him our vote?
No.
No.
So that's the point I'm
we
trying
as
to make.
individuals, we can, but
And if-
we
if-
can't
if-
ignore.
Eric, the
If-
thinking
if you-
behind this is if your own people don't support you, why should we support you?
Right.
Are we now?
That's
You
really
see,
the
that's the
logic.
problem I'm having. And you see,
And also the overriding thinking behind all of this is that we're going to support our guy because we've got that mentality that when our guy is in, we get something as well. So that is the mentality. It's going to be very difficult to change. In fact, the other day I rated Sonko quite low on his performance.
and you want to change that today?
No, I don't want to change it. His performance doesn't change.
How well do
But
you
one
know
thing,
his performance?
No. One thing I will say is that he is emerging as the pioneer of non-tribal politics. How well he can grow that and maintain that, I don't know, because he was never voted in because he was Kamba. He was voted in by Nairobi, and it was
Because he's
something very
Sonko.
good. Because yes, it's something quite nice to see. But then again, we can counter that and say, well, Nairobi is quite cosmopolitan in as far as tribes go. So, you had Kidero being voted in by Kikuyus as well. So maybe Nairobi is not as politically sort of divided as the other counties. But Sonko does not ride on tribe.
You know what? I'll always refuse on this show. I'll refuse to enter that box.
Which box?
I believe.
I
Which
refuse
box?
to
Which
enter
box?
that box where I will be made to think about along tribal lines.
Well, you might as well opt out of the national conversation, because
I have
this is
opted out of the
exactly
national
what
conversation.
happens when
That's
it
why I do
comes
not
to
go in
voting.
that direction at
This
all.
is exactly
Which
what
is why I'm
happens
saying,
when
if
it
we
comes
talk
to
about
voting.
Kivuda Kibwana,
Well, you can sit
if we
on
talk
the
about
side and the
Kivuda
three of
Kibwana
us
is a
will
good
discuss
man.
it for
We
now.
talk about Wycliffe Oparanya as a good man. Let's talk about him being a leader.
It's
You see,
fantastic and
Ndu
utopian,
was
but that's
telling us-
simply not the case. We've got to
Ndu
be
was
realistic,
telling us that
Eric.
we've got to realize our power.
I think we
I
do
think
have to
Ndu
realize our
needs
power.
to
And
This
if
is a political
start
talk show that
preaching in
looks
this
to
room.
analyze the situation on the ground. We're not a feel-good factor show. We've got to tell people the truth and as it is. What I'm telling you
And the
is
truth
not
is
an
we're
opinion. It
powerful.
is a fact.
yes, we do vote on tribal lines. That is true. Kenya votes on tribal lines. However, we've already looked at, just as Njeri said now, we've looked at a man who's come through as maybe the pioneer of non-tribal politics, all right? And perhaps that is the direction we need to go. We cannot continue having
By starting
leaders.
to
He also
think
had the
about
youth on his
ourselves.
side.
We cannot continue having leaders who come in based on the fact that they were voted because of where they come from,
Or they-
as opposed to what they believe in
Wait,
and what is
wait,
good, and
galvanize
as
the tribal
opposed to
bloc.
what is
Wait,
good,
wait.
as opposed
What
to what is
Nirvana
good
is
for
this
this
you're
country.
imagining, dude?
Hey,
There is no
hey,
such
hey.
thing.
Hey,
Where are we going?
Where
Then
do
if
MPs
not,
where
then
do
we-
M- where do
or are you
MPs come
assuming?
from?
Are you assuming
Ndu.
that this vacillation that you've been talking about is a good thing?
Which is what I'm wondering. I mean,
Is it
you
a
raise
good
an
thing?
issue of vacillation
Is it a good
here,
thing,
and then you
this
come and tell us
vacillation
about
that
Just-
you're
Maybe it
talking
works.
about?
Maybe it
I-
works for us as a democracy
No,
with
no.
many
Then we
ethnic
continue
groups.
to have these issues where we
But
complain
why
here,
and over
why
and
has
over
it
again.
become
to
a
have
good
these-
or and bad thing?
we continue to
I
have
was
these issues
merely-
where we're talking year, term after term,
My
about how
position-
The
The
only
government in
solution
place
to it,
did not
let
do
me
it.
tell you the truth of the matter, of course. I never give opinions, I only talk facts. It's the truth. The only solution here is devolution. With devolution, people start to feel that they have power in their hands. People are not voting tribally because if you find, most areas will have a singular tribe. So if it's Kakamega, it will be Luyas. So now they start to vote on performance and it's merit-based. That is the only time. And if that is then amplified and echoed across the country. But in as far as politics stands today, it would be wishful thinking for you to suggest we don't vote in tribe. On
We do.
tribal
This is
No,
what I'm
no, no,
saying.
no.
This is what I'm
Nobody's
saying. I'm not
suggesting that
saying
we
that we
don't.
don't.
No, Eric,
I'm saying
you
that we
stood
do.
here and said
I'm
no.
just saying-
We
I'm just
do
saying-
vote,
You're not coming
but it
into
should
that
not
box.
be
I am
that
not.
way.
I'm not going to
So-
stay in that
Of
box.
course, we
So
all
let
know
me
it
ask
shouldn't
you.
be
We
that way.
do
That
vote.
goes without
If-
saying. We're not here to preach. It's not church. We're here to discuss what's on the ground.
If
That is what is on the ground, but does not mean that it has to
Wait,
stay
wait,
that
wait,
way.
wait.
It doesn't
No,
mean
no,
that it
no.
has to remain that way.
we need to be specific here. You're making general a topic that has to be specific to be understood. The various communities in this country vote in their MPs and MCAs. Tribal.
Yeah.
No way out of that one. Agreed?
That's how they do it.
But
now.
we had
No
no.
choice.
Hold on.
True.
We had one guy. I'm trying to think. A Luo guy in a
happened?
predominantly Kikuyu area
That's Moranga.
that won
MCA.
MCA.
Yes.
And he won.
But what are you saying? We had Shakil Shabir, who was MP Kisumu town.
We've got a,
We've got Junet, who's MP Migori, predominantly Luo places. So
they consider him one of their own.
they do consider him one of their own. Yes.
What is your point again? Maybe we are losing your point again.
No,
What
you're
was
not
your
losing my point.
On
You-
vacillating.
I think we're
politicians?
amplifying it.
Yes, I've actually, you're actually not confusing issue. You're just telling me what you think about it. In an ideal situation, yes, one would hope that can only happen in town, in major towns, where many communities are in one place. But the moment you leave the larger towns and you go to, say, the rural areas, it's tribal. Our rural areas are demarcated by tribal.
Because that is who they know. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with it.
Yes.
This is what I'm saying. There's nothing wrong with that. However, when you look at an individual who's able to take a country or a region forward because of the ideologies they have, and then you do not elect that person into power because of the fact that they are not from where you are, that is where my problem is. That is what I have an issue
No, you're
with.
making a mistake. Maybe it's semantics, but it's not that we won't be voting for Kambwana. it's that we will be voting for our guy. It's a completely different mentality.
Yes,
It's not
we have
that we're
nothing.
choosing-
We have nothing against Kibwana,
Kibwana,
but he's not our person.
He's not our person. So
Yes,
it's not
but
that
what
we're
I'm
not-
trying to say is that when we're looking at this, our person coming in, what is it that he's going to do? It's not about so that you have the feel-good
And
factor.
I see
it's
him.
not the
I don't-
feel-good.
I see him on
it's
the
not
ballot
feel,
box,
It's
but
not the
probably as a
feel-good
spoiler.
factor that because I put our person in there, but it's in terms of moving this country forward and actually making sure that you have the 1, 2, 3. Because it's forever, for me, it's forever going to be about development and moving this country forward in terms of progress.
Now,
as
you're
opposed to
well-informed,
vacillating,
Du.
as
You're
opposed to vacillating around
well-informed.
this issue about changing from one ideology to the next.
Can I ask
it's got
you a
to be something
question?
that you stand
by
for.
the way-
Okay, can I ask you a question? Do you're well informed, well educated? You know what good leadership looks like. How do you suggest we inform others, people on the ground, the masses? How
Well,
do you suggest?
Again, it's conversation starters. It's again looking at things that have worked. It's again looking at
Worked
initiatives
where?
that have. I mean,
You know, just-
just
No.
the
I
example-
want. Let's go down this route. Worked where?
Just as you have this example that I've raised specifically about Kibwana in the area in which he has worked. Yes, he comes from that area. But what I'm saying is that can
Okay.
we look at leaders who have those ideologies and are actually putting them
All right.
to work?
You and I can do that.
Let me assist
But
you
what I'm
here.
asking is about the masses. How do you suggest the masses are informed?
Let
And
me-
in whose interest is it to inform the masses? And who owns the platforms that would inform the masses?
So because the people who own the platforms are the ones pushing the agenda, we have to say that now these platforms cannot be shared.
Perhaps.
No, not necessarily. Look, any leader who aspires for a national position does certain things. The one thing you do is you make sure you travel the country.
There you go.
Number one.
There
Yeah.
you go. Absolutely.
And then you need to understand what the people in the areas you're going to understand as good leadership. Understand as good leadership, not what you think, what you know it to be.
What they understand it to be.
Outside, Uhuru Kenyatta, Raila Odinga, Deputy President Ruto, which other national leader do you see doing the rounds? I'm just asking you. Which one? It's not a question of talking on radio, being on TV.
And it costs a lot of money as well.
It does. You need a support system.
So we're saying basically.
So of all the governors, the one person who is milking this is the governor of Nairobi, because he already has a mixed community here. So the thing that matters to most people, funerals. He'll go to a Luhya community, they have an issue, he'll attend, he'll make sure he contributes something to the funeral. If it's this community, now
I don't think that then reaches the grassroots in Luhya land. I don't think he's
actually it
he's
does.
then getting the votes of the
Actually,
Luhya bloc.
no, I'm not even going to the votes.
I refuse to agree with you there.
You must not let your dislike for the individual.
No, I have
not
nothing
see-
against Sonko. You're
No.
reinforcing this notion that.
No, I am
I
trying
have
to
something
tell you
against
that
Sonko. No,
the
not at
things
all.
that people like,
Absolutely, but
the
I
things
don't
that the
think-
Mwananchi resonates with. If
I
someone
don't think
dies here and is
Sonko-
buried here, it doesn't
know,
matter.
It's a double-edged sword for Sonko. Yes, he's non-tribal and he got there through votes that were non-tribal. But having said that, he also doesn't have any tribal following, which can be dangerous in the sort of
Let me
elections
open up
we
the
have.
phone
When I say
lines now.
dangerous, I say politically dangerous.
Can I open up the phone lines?
Open up the phone
0719.
lines. Let's hear what the Mwananchi has to say.
0719 012 That's 0719 012 You hear the conversation that we're having in the studio this morning. I would like to know what your thoughts are about this. Our SMS number is 40127. And also you can contribute on Twitter and Facebook, SpiceFMKE. That's SpiceFMKE on Twitter, SpiceFMKE on Facebook. Njeri, the setup of our national politics and, the way it is in our electoral system is that for you to become president, that's the national leader, you must have at least 25% in how many counties?
Half
Half
of the counties.
All right? That is 24 counties across the country. To get 25% in 24 counties, it means that you've gone across all the counties. You've sold your Sarah. Then the people in those counties are not electing you because you are a person. They're electing you because you have something that they resonate with. True? So that is you're asking what's the channel to use. It's already been set up. It's already a system that we have. The channel to use is that. Now, when we allow the politicians to come and say, no, first of all, for you to have a national platform, you must go and unite all the Luyas before you must be the leader of the Kamba so that you can come and campaign to be the leader of the country. That's why I'm saying I do not want us to go there. I do not want to go that direction myself.
But
No,
Njeri
sir,
was
they're
saying,
not rules
we are
written
there.
down. They're unspoken conventions.
We are
And what
there.
you want
It's not
is
that we
neither
want to
here
go
nor
there.
And
We are there.
I don't want to stay
This
in
is
that
not a
box.
motivational
We don't have to
talk,
stay
Eric.
there. We don't have to
We
stay
don't
there
have
just
to stay
because we
there.
are there.
I don't want to stay there myself. I do
You
not
know,
want.
okay,
And because
so how
what
do you
this does,
change it?
what
All
this
right.
does,
Okay.
what let me
How
just
do- how-
let me
no,
talk
no.
about what it does. What it does is
We
that
know
it
what it
creates
does.
a
We know the
situation-
How do you
consequence
change
of
it?
it.
We know what it does. How do you change it?
I think the conversation, it's conversation starters, and these things have to be talked about. Are we looking at a situation now whereby we're saying, leaders who then hold this mantle, where they have ideologies that work, where they have ideologies that work for progress, where they have ideologies that work for development, are then using platforms that they have little by little, chip away, little by little, actually now allows you to conquer the mountain at some point. It does, and it works. The platforms that you have that you can use, begin to use them to talk about the ideologies that you profess and those that you believe in.
All these,
It sounds like you guys.
Yes, it does sound like Nirvana. It does sound like, the perfect
And it
idea.
sounds
It
like
a
it
motivational
sounds like
talk.
idealism.
It sounds like you've given up.
Sounds
Look
like
at
a
our
motivation.
major
The people who get
parties.
to power in places in countries where
we
we
have
talk
to
about
start where
development,
we are.
actually,
When we
it
discuss
can
politics-
be motivational and start. Just because we are where we are doesn't mean we have to stay there.
But
You're
when we're having a
farming where we
discussion-
are.
But you
When we're-
cannot make progress and move forward if you don't fully understand where you are to begin with.
Absolutely.
We understand where we are, but
No,
we're
we
saying
don't.
that we cannot stay there.
We don't
We're
have
saying
to
that
rea-
yes,
we
we
don't
are
have to
voting along
reaffirm where
tribal
we are.
lines.
Look.
We're voting along tribal lines. We're putting our guy
Look.
into positions of
All
power time
our
and time
national
again.
parties, if you look at them, there's always an attempt to ensure that the leadership of that party is not from one community.
Are we moving forward with that?
Can I?
Yes.
Are we?
Yes.
We're moving forward with that.
Actually, yes. We are. When there is that attempt, it means the very thing that you're saying
Is
has
already
happened.
happening.
Yes, it's not that people are not aware.
What
Can I,
attempt?
can,
They
I, can I
actually-
ask a question, a contentious one, at the risk of sounding facetious? What is wrong with voting tribally? Why have we decided it's wrong to vote on
I
a tribal
didn't decide
basis?
it was wrong. It's
Why?
new.
Why have we?
And Eric,
No,
who
no.
have
But
determined
generally,
that
we're
one should not
constant.
vote
You know,
tribally.
the sort of undertones.
There's nothing wrong with voting tribal. The thing is that you are conditioning. For example, this conversation began when you said, "Can Oparanya really become president? Does he have the wherewithal? Does he have the?
Can he unite the
can he
Luya
unite
people?
the Luya? Because
I had to
it's like you're put-
contextualize
it's like you're
leadership
put-
contests in this country and how
you're-
they work.
You're putting
Yes.
it like that's what the first condition.
It
If
is.
If he can't unite
It
the
is.
Luya
If he
people,
cannot unite the
then
Luya
he cannot
community,
be
he cannot be
president.
president. The only person who's managed to do that was Wamalwa, and he made it to deputy or vice at the time.
Mhm.
Yeah, Kijana Wamalwa.
Well, that's
Michael.
yes, that before
Michael
he
Wamalwa.
went
But
for
I
to
want to
become
go
an
back to this
ancestor.
question: is it a bad thing to vote tribally? Why
If-
why
are
have
you-
we demonized it? The notion and the idea of voting tribally. Why have we decided it's a bad
The
thing?
vote-
It's not necessarily a bad thing, but where we're looking at a situation where you have a leader who might be able to have ideologies who might push this country forward, but you would not vote for that individual over your guy, over your individual who is from your tribe. So you put out a situation where you're able to move this country, and I'm speaking from a totally developmental point of view. So you put out the opportunity to move your country forward, whereby this individual could have ideals that could move this country forward by 2-3 steps, but you would not put that person into power because you want to put your individual who's from your tribe. That's the way it works.
The owners of what
Our
you're
feedback
saying.
line this morning, I'm sorry to cut you short, CT. Our feedback line this morning, 0719-012-600. That's 0719-012-600. The phone lines are open, and I've got Okoh calling from Mombasa. Good morning, Okoh.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well, thanks. CT Muga, Njeri Thorne, and Ndu Okoh are here with me. What do you have to say about what we're discussing this morning?
Well, I would say this. I had a question being asked. I think very unfortunate question. What's wrong with voting tribally? I'll say quite a number of things that are wrong with voting tribally.
Yeah.
It means if we vote tribally, if your tribal leader is a dunderhead, you have to vote for him. That's what's wrong with voting tribally.
Okay.
We need to move the conversation from voting tribally and saying, what can this person bring to the table for Kenyans?
There you go.
This is the biggest problem we have in Kenya, in Africa. This is what is holding us back. We are living in the continent that is the poorest continent in the world. And if we continue doing what we are doing, because that is where we are, then that is where we are going to continue being. It's as simple as that.
Can I ask you something, sir? Hello?
Hello.
Can I ask you something?
Ask.
Please. If you're calling from Mombasa, it means you're a resident of Mombasa.
Yes, I am.
So when you vote in Mombasa,
Yes.
the people who you vote for don't necessarily come from wherever it is your ancestors came from. Is that not so?
Yes.
Now, if you're residing where your ancestors came from, who would you vote for? Apart from people who speak your language or who come from where you come from.
If a person presents himself, even if he is not a person who my ancestors come from, if he presents himself with a program that will benefit me as a voter, I will vote for him. Even if he comes from Coast Province and he's I come from Nyanza Province and is in Nyanza Province and he says he wants to be the governor of whichever county, if he is going to do something that is for my benefit, I'll vote for him.
But this
absolutely.
The reason we probably find that we have an affinity to people from our tribes is because the ideas they present would resonate with us. So, for instance, I'm going to oversimplify this and I don't want any backlash. So, for instance, if it was a Kikuyu candidate, they would be talking about creating a conducive business environment, whereas a Luo candidate would be talking about creating universities for degrees, for instance. I'm just giving an example and I'm over-stereotyping. I want to over-stereotype. No. I should be allowed to do this for purposes of illustrating the point I'm trying to make. What I'm trying to say is you will find your candidates' ideas and ways of doing things, they might resonate with you more than another candidate. So what you're saying is if he has something good for me, I'll vote for him. But what is good for you might not be good for the next guy.
Which is why you are voting for the person.
So you end up voting. And that's why we tend to end up voting for somebody from our place. We end up voting for somebody from our tribe.
The reasoning, because that's based. You see, when you talk of stereotypes, that's an assumption.
No, I had to
that's
use.
An assumption
No. I had to use a stereotype.
It's the most stereotypical stereotype ever.
Can you let our caller say what he wants to say, please?
Go ahead.
That's a stereotype, and stereotypes are notions that have never been proved.
I was using a stereotype to illustrate my point. I wasn't stereotyping.
Let Okoh finish.
Let me finish. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you say that when a person is in Nyanza, the person who resonates with him would be the person from Nyanza province. And the reason that is, you see, we are already making assumptions. As voters, we are already making assumptions that simply because this guy speaks my language, then he resonates with me. It may be that the person from Central resonates with me much better than the person from Nyanza. Why can't I listen to what this person from Central Province has to say?
Exactly.
So
of course you can listen. What I'm saying is your socialization is likely to have a lot of things in common with somebody from your backyard.
Listen,
and because of the conditioning, your ideas and thinking are likely to be the same. And so what he's selling to you in terms of policy in his manifesto would resonate with you a lot more. Food for thought.
Okoh, thank you very much for calling. And let's speak this next caller. This is Mbai in Nairobi. Mbai, good morning.
Oh, good morning. Just wanted to disagree with one of your panelists.
Yes.
When he says he doesn't want to be dragged into that box of tribalism and calling in tribal blood.
That's Eric.
That was me.
Yeah, let me be very honest. I don't want to. Neither does most of your panelists want to be dragged into anything tribal. But you see, that's the reality in the country. Whether we want it or we don't, it's so much entrenched in our culture that people will tend to vote in tribal blocks. I don't want to be dragged into that. But that's the reality.
So, Mbai, you said you do not want to be dragged in that box. Do you want to remain in the box? Because what I was saying is, yes, that's a box, but I do not want to stay in that box.
No, it's true. No one wants to stay in that
Then
block.
get out of the box, my brother. Get out of the box.
What is wrong with the box? This is what I was asking. What is wrong with voting tribally? I'm not saying it's right, but let us get to the bottom of it. Why have we decided there's something wrong with it? Let's be some critical thinking
who
here.
has decided
What is
for
wrong?
us?
We see everybody's talking about this box that we need to get out of. What is wrong with voting tribally?
Because not all good leaders will come from. You can have
Not
a good
all
leader
good
coming
leaders
from
or
a
not
di-
all
a
good
different
ideas
tribe.
will come from your specific tribe. Just because of the fact that you look at everything through a tribe, you look at this is the person who's representing me because they're most like me. Now what you do is that you lock out other opportunities for a good leader to come on board because you don't look at what this other leader or this other person who's putting up their CV generally for this job. You don't look at the attributes that they have that could move this country forward because you're already conditioned to look at your tribe.
Mbai
I agree with you.
Mbai has called to make a point. Let's actually allow Mbai to.
Sorry.
Mbai, go ahead.
No, what I'm really trying to emphasize on is whether we like it as a country, people will tend to vote on tribal blocks. That is a fact. What we need to do as leaders, what we need to do as panelists, you people to advise the country is how do we get out of that box? But we cannot deny the fact that people will. The Oparanya case, I tend to agree with the fact that if he is not able to unite the Luhya tribe, how is he then going to sell himself as a national figure? I mean, it's not going to work. I don't know whether
So what you're trying to say is what can we do to make sure Oparanya gets the Luyas to coalesce around him so he can sell himself as a national figure? Is that the question?
Oh, I think we lost Mbai.
Oh, okay.
The call dropped. But yes, the thing is, you gave the example of Sonko. Sonko has not sold himself as a tribal leader.
Because he is
Now
running in a cosmopolitan city.
Imagine if you are trying to push Sonko to say, if Sonko cannot unite this kind of tribal bloc, then what chance does he have being a
folks,
why
why
must we say that?
We are staring at a solution and yet we're asking for it. Who does His Excellency Mike Mbuvi, who does he appeal to the most in this country?
The masses, the people.
No. There's a specific group he actually appeals to more than anybody.
The youth. The
Precisely.
youth and the underemployed, for example,
so
unemployed.
what is it that he does to appeal to these people?
He gives them what they do not have.
I was trying to make this
Jobs,
point,
money.
and Njeri cut me short. And I was trying to say, this thing called funerals matter to very many communities. Whether they live in Nairobi, Mombasa, it matters to them. He has gotten this. He has understood the things that people... we discussed this thing early on. One of the times when we were discussing this, we brought it to the fore. He doesn't have to necessarily go to the places that the deputy president and the others go all the time. He's governor of Nairobi. But when you already have an audience who are representative of the people who go there and they're treated well, the people they get to hear. That's what I'm saying, that, this person is the one who made it possible. And when someone is media savvy, he will ensure that the things he does are known. For instance, when the MP for Kibra died, he had a massive funeral service and a massive outing for politicians. Remember? What did Governor Mike Sonko do? Mbuvi.
He provided transport and etc. for people to go and attend these funerals. Yes, he did.
It resonates.
Exactly.
That gesture, it resonates.
Yes, and we cannot start saying that, unless he's able to galvanize ABCD, then he shouldn't be able to.
I think I've got this wrong because I thought when we were talking about politics, we were actually going to talk about what's on the ground instead of philosophizing how it should be.
But this gentleman actually is governor of Nairobi. I'm not philosophizing about him.
No. When we come back...
When we come back out of this break, we'll come and pick the last calls on this, and then we wind up in going into the next one. Because the issue that we seem to be disagreeing is exactly how we should then get out of this box, or whether we should remain in the box, or whether the box is good or bad. It's 25 minutes to 8 o'clock. This is the Situation Room. Eric Latiff, Njeri Thorne, Ndu Okoh, and CT Muga. Don't go away. This is the Situation Room.
The Lions are back again. Always on the hunt, always prowling for the deal. For the brave contestants, this will be the chance to secure the investment of a lifetime.
It's all or nothing. You have no choice. I just want money.
KCB Lions Den Season 4 premieres on Tuesday, 3rd September at 8 p.m. only on KTN.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
90.9 Eldoret, 96.7 Nakuru, 96.0, 102.5 in Kisumu, 87.9 in Mombasa, and of course 94.4 in Nairobi. spicefm.co.ke is where we're streaming live. You can watch us. This is the first and only audio-visual radio station in the Republic of Kenya. Spice FM KE on Facebook and Spice FM KE on Twitter, and also Spice FM KE on Instagram. We're taking calls now, 0719-012-600, as we wind up on this topic on vacillating politicians and what it portends to us. I mean, Ndu was saying that we've got the power to change. CT is saying this is the nature of politicians, and also we need to understand and start putting them to account on this. And Njeri, I didn't get what you were saying on this.
I think I've said quite a lot, actually.
I'm just trying to summarize on one thing.
Well, there's nothing. I'm willing to revise my position as the show goes on. If somebody proves they've got a point, I think Du had a really good point as to why we shouldn't vote on tribal lines, because we can actually end up missing on very good leadership because our biases lead us elsewhere. So I had that question, should we vote on tribal lines, and why do we demonize the idea of voting on tribal lines? But my question was, and I was trying to bring things more back to the ground and reality and politics as is now, can the Luyas coalesce around this governor that's doing so well for them, or for one of the counties? And I think we were looking at the fact that they're so divided. There's so many other leaders. There's Boni Khalwale, there's Wamalwa, there's Wetangula,
there's Musalia
Mudavadi, who, by the way, is where my money is on for 2022, believe it or not. Having said all this about the Luyas.
Is he able to galvanize the Luya? Has he been able?
The one man that can is Baba.
Baba is able
believe it or not.
Baba is able to unite the Luya.
He is.
So do we have any Luya leader who's able to
if
unite?
Baba endorses Mudavadi, then we've got a candidate for 2022. And I see that happening.
I see. So,
but of course, I'm looking through my crystal ball. This is all speculation.
So, but then without endorsement from Baba,
no, not possible.
Not possible.
Not possible.
Not possible for him. Not possible for any other.
I think the last time we saw the Luyas come together as a united voting bloc, as I said, was under Kijana Wamalwa. But we also have to take into account that maybe it wasn't Wamalwa who united them. It was the very situation, and it was things fell into place that allowed them to coalesce around him. I don't think it's necessarily him who pulled them to him. And that was with Kibaki. What year was that? 2002.
Yes.
2002, yeah.
It wasn't actually even an issue of uniting the Luya, really. It was a countrywide movement.
That's what I mean.
Right?
It was an opportunity that actually came.
Which was not tribal.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Good.
For
a moment there, we were not in a box.
What that tells you, we never really are in a box. Unless you want to state that was one miraculous happening. Remember in the Kibaki era, we had such unity when we decided that we were tired of the Matatu menace.
True.
Yes.
There was a renewed optimism, yes.
There was. Mm-hmm. Time magazine in 2002 called Kenyans the most optimistic people on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
With good reason. With good reason. We are way ahead of Bhutan, who are now sort of like ensuring that they've enshrined happiness into their constitution. We are not actually tribal. Our politicians have a tribal mantra that they chant from time to time to sort of like whip us behind them. But if you look at this country for what it is, if we're really tribal, after the elections, we'd still be at war with each other.
Exactly. We're not tribal, but when it comes to leadership, we are. I think we get on very well in all other spaces. So in the office, in the home, in marriages, friends, school, and so on. But when it comes to leadership, we do become tribal. And again, I go back to the idea that maybe we're not ready for democracy because of the different ethnic groups being led by one or two people.
it's actually an ethnic thingy. So it comes to, at the point of leadership, is when we start looking at it from a tribal point of view.
We do.
Absolutely, because of democracy and how it
if
works.
we
Because we've then got to choose one person.
What Ndu and I are
I
saying
mean,
is, if we
it's very
emancipate ourselves
From this mental slavery.
mental slavery, none but ourselves.
Our history plays a very important part in what Njeri is saying. The political changes, the issues between the leaders that we've had in this country, and the politicians whipping up our sentiments and presenting some really negative pictures that only suit them, not us as a people. This is the culmination of this mistrust that appears during election times. But I am saying it is not real mistrust. Why it isn't is because two people may be at loggerheads even during the election. And if they are friends, the elections end, they will renew their friendship.
Or not even renew, they will continue their friendship.
Yes.
Our telephone number,
renew.
our telephone number this morning, 0719-0126. I keep saying this morning. Our telephone number always 0719-012600. I've got Kenneth from Malindi. Good morning, Kenneth.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Yes. Thank you very much again for giving this chance and for this show.
Yes.
Yeah, and I wanted to put in a little bit of my 10 cents.
Make it 50.
All right. Thank you very much. Yeah. You see, we are talking about good leaders versus who we vote in. We have good leaders. We do. We've always had good leaders. And Kenyans do not vote on tribal blocks. What the problem we really have is when we come to elections.
Right.
Elections. The voice of the people is never respected. See? See, at the end of the day, they may vote in a good leader, but they don't get him. We don't get him, you see? We might even get a Jesus here amongst us, like a good Messiah, politically speaking.
Yep.
Okay? But he will not get a chance. However, we may vote in 90% of us to Mpigie, unless we check on the elections.
So it's electoral process that you're actually questioning.
Yes. Not the day of elections. The day of elections, like City Muga once said, like a few days ago, is like one of the happiest days. It's a social day. It's like a holiday for Kenyans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Until
what
the night
happens
falls.
behind the scenes? Yes. after that day, we must really be honest as Kenyans, very honest, and look there, and then we will fix so many things in this country.
So it's not the tribes that are an issue. It's individuals.
We're not tribal. We're not tribal.
It's individuals that do that.
Yeah. When it comes to electing a president, Kenyans, they vote as a country. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. We do. Somebody has cited the day we were getting Moi out and putting in Kibaki.
Yeah.
Tell me what was trouble there. Oh, the whole country worked towards that. And immediately after that election, again, we were working towards that. And then now the MOU got whatever, then now we started going different ways, you see.
Yes.
But we are not very, very much tribal. When we get one common thing that we're working towards, Kenyans are very united. Kenyans for Kenyans, whatnot, all these initiatives, they show you something.
All right. So Kenneth, let me ask you a final question as I let you go. So Njeri has mentioned to us about what she's looking at from the western region of the country, and she's seeing that Musalia Mudavadi stands a good chance if he gets endorsed by Raila Odinga. What do you think?
Yeah. She has a good point. The Raila factor in this country, it is the same factor that gave Wamaloa that thing that, you see, Raila was a player in that election, that Wamaloa became vice president.
Yes.
See, Raila is a big factor. However he moves, the country will move.
Thank you very much, Kenneth. Have a good day in Malindi.
Thank you very much.
All right. So 97.6 in Malindi, that's where Kenneth is calling from. what other areas do you see in your crystal ball, Njeri?
No, it's just if you look at our patterns and behaviors, I think, yes, there would be a following, and Raila would be able to actually galvanize them into one voting bloc.
If you want to understand just how polarized, when it comes to political polarization, we as a nation have become, and the band leaders in this particular song have been our politicians, is the way people react to the handshake. Initially, now that they've gotten used to it, the voices are as varied as there are human beings in this country. There are those who don't like it, there are those who... So you wonder, what is it? You feel that there must always be some strong opposition and there must be unrest for you to actually feel alive and kicking.
We're politically charged as a nation. So when we get headlines such as, the plane landed safely, it's not something you want to read.
There must be fractures.
You want some high-octane drama, absolutely.
Fractures relations between Kraximaj. No coming together of two people. This segues right into our next topic, Njeri, which is about political succession and how we look at 2022, the politics of 2022. Looking from our vacillating politicians, some of whom have actually had several positions in the last 5 years, and then looking at the next 3 years that are remaining before 2022. Can we even tell who will be on what side by 2022 and what they'll be standing for?
I think we're beginning to see some divisions or realignments emerging, and some of these could bloom into actual political parties, whether it's BBI, could bloom into an actual political party. But just to give you some background, you've got Team Wanjiku, which is Kuria, Sonko, and Kalembe Ndile. They say they're the voice of the people, and they claim that politicking won't allow Uhuru to actually deliver, which is quite ironic because they themselves are politicking by saying this. And then you've got Kieleweke, which is allied to Uhuru and Raila. Of course, I think you've seen Gonjiru Wambogo on that. Then you've got Team Tanga Tanga, of which the root, if you remember, of that name was when the deputy president was asked not to or to Tanga Tanga. I forget which it was because he was going around the country.
It was just mentioned.
It was mentioned
when you see him
Tanga Tangaing, and he very sort of stroke of genius. He decided to embrace that, and it's now Team Tanga Tanga. And this is when there was electioneering sort of attitudes or activities rather, at a time where we as a country were looking to move away from the elections and actually carry on with our development programs, and also, of course, uniting the country after the elections. Of course, they're very divisive in Kenya. So there's Team Tanga Tanga. And then you've got Inua Mama, which again is Ruto, sort of leans towards Ruto. That's led by Aisha Juma. And you've got Embrace, which is leaning now towards Uhuru, Kieleweke. So in essence, you've got the two divisions, Tanga Tanga and Kieleweke, and then you've got spin-offs or splinter groups or splinter parties coming off that. But I do see these blooming into political parties. And if you see the people who belong in these different parties or who are heading these different, whether it's the splinter parties, the Embrace and so on, it starts to give you an idea as to who's going to be on the ballot box or who is a serious contender or who we can look at in 2022. So I would say under Embrace, I think Waigoro. And Waigoro is somebody to seriously watch for 2022. First of all, as I go to keep your eye on, don't switch channels. I go back to tribal or tribal blocks that we vote in. I think, of course, with succession politics, Kikuyu succession politics, there's some tussles between her. I've seen Njeri wanting that seat as well, which is Kikuyu succession. So it's leadership of the Kikuyu community. You've seen Njeri go for it. I know Moses Kuria is making a lot of noise about it, but at the moment she's looking like the strongest contender. She's done very well for the county so far. She did very well in her ministry in terms of development. And she's very popular. And the fact that she's a woman is also quite different. So the novelty of that might propel her to the leadership of the Kikuyu bloc. So she's definitely one to watch. In terms of Tanga, of course, Ruto is at the helm of that. He'll definitely be, there's no stopping him. He'll be on the ballot box in 2022. Then you've got Team Wanjiko, which is Kuria, Sonko, and Ndile. Kalembe Ndile might sell a few tickets for his party for those who don't get nominations, but I see Sonko making some noise, or somebody to take note of. I don't think we can overlook Sonko. I don't think he'll come back as governor. I don't think he's enjoying that position personally, but I don't think he'll come back as governor, but definitely somebody to take note of. Of course, I foresee in my crystal ball us having had a referendum, and there'll be a few more positions than just president and deputy president. So maybe Sonko would be a key player for things like deputy prime minister, because I believe there would be a premier position. So just looking forward, well, I'm looking forward to it, of course, but looking at 2022, those are the sort of politics that are playing out. I wanted to put it out there. My take, I said, is Mudavadi versus Ruto versus Waiguru. I think those will be the three biggest. And my take is actually Mudavadi.
So you think Waiguru will be on the ballot?
Absolutely. She's not somebody you can overlook. I know in terms of Kikuyu succession
not as a
politics,
running mate, but as a substantial candidate.
As a candidate, remember, we might not have the same structures if we have the parliamentary system, whereby we have the
leaders of political parties and such,
whereby we have a prime minister and so on. So if we're looking at prime minister, perhaps you'd be looking at Waiguru. Also, it helps with the gender balance. Absolutely, we do need that. So if we're creating positions so that we can incorporate other tribes into power, it's important we start to incorporate other genders. I mean, there's only two of us. It's not difficult. Yeah.
Speaking
so
of Waiguru,
I see her. I don't see anybody else on a national level.
But we've seen Waiguru actually leaning a lot towards Raila. Do you think she's seeking Raila's endorsement in this?
But Eric, that was just one statement she made. How does that qualify as being a leaning?
What statement did she make?
Well, she said it was time for the...
This particular statement, just listen to this.
We all understand that Raila controls roughly half this country. And anyone who imagines that you can actually lead this country without his input or his supporters' input, I think we will be denying a fact. And so what we've said is that we need to be realistic, because Kenyans have said that they would like to see other tribes also involved in terms of the leadership of this country. And as a Mount Kenya leader, I know that we have very many votes, and we would also want to be participating in this leadership. And the most sensible thing to do to ensure that there's national cohesion and representation of regions, different regions, at the helm of this country where they...
Well, she sort of echoes and reinforces what I've been saying. So other communities want to see themselves in leadership, but she also talks of herself, I don't know if you heard that, very important and very poignant, as a Mount Kenya leader. I don't know if she
is. but let me ask a question.
Go ahead.
There are two things here. Mm-hmm. There is this issue among the Mount Kenyan communities about, well, not all of it, but more to the central part of Kenya, about the crossing of the Chania River and leadership.
Well,
1968.
Well, that changed, didn't it? Because we had Kibaki.
Yes.
But what makes you think it cannot revert back?
There's been a generational change. So the context of it is
right.
There's
been a generational change. Okay, let me ask the second part of my question. The lady from the same backyard as the young lady whom we heard speaking just a few minutes ago.
Martha Karua.
Thank you. A very seasoned, very senior politician.
And she's vied for presidency.
I don't know if politician, because she does lack the politician aspect. I mean, she's a brilliant lawyer, technocrat, but the politician aspect, I beg to differ.
I'm just asking because she was MP. Was it for Gishugu?
Yes.
Not once, not twice. You're talking about a patriarchal community, male-dominated community. I don't want to use the word chauvinism here. And she was MP.
For more than one term.
More than one term.
Yes,
and you say she was not a politician.
She managed to piss off people in her backyard. She managed to really piss them off.
Politicians must piss off some people.
That's what happens every time.
No, as a community.
No.
First of all,
That's why
for two reasons.
That's why they elected her twice, because she pisses off
No.
people.
This was thereafter for two reasons. I think I wasn't in the country at the moment, at the time, so I can't go into much detail. But correct me if I'm wrong, but she insulted Kibaki. Am I right about that?
Not necessarily.
I don't recall myself.
Well, that is the rhetoric on the ground.
I don't recall. Eric, do you recall?
Not exactly insulted Kibaki. I think what she did at the point is, remember when there was, after the 2005 referendum,
yes,
there were now very many movements around. Very many movements. And that's the time when President Kibaki came up with the government of national unity.
Yes.
That's a moment when they fell apart with Charity Ngilu. Also, Martha Karua saw an opportunity to go it alone again towards the end of that, the second term, I think, when she went strongly head on Kenya.
Right.
And she pulled in Mungatana into the party and all that. It's basically she was standing on her own 2 feet, if you ask me.
Oh, she was reacting to things that had also happened within that particular setup.
Also, having not been at the fore of it, there's a lot of youth that have come into the voting, into the electorate. And she's just not at the forefront of the availability bias in terms of whether they can recognize her or not as a politician is questionable.
Are we
I don't
talking
remember
about
the
this
last
because
time.
from a point of personality or charisma, or
No, we're talking about her versus Waigoro. I guess that's what you're bringing in here in terms of a national leader.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I am talking about Waiguru was elected as governor.
Right.
She's a political novice.
Yes, number one. She's a woman. To gain mileage and to want the sort of backing that would make you president, you require a lot more. I'm simply asking, is the region ready to vote for a woman as president? That's the question.
They voted for a woman as governor.
No.
You were speaking about now the issue between...
She's a novice, for starters. This is her first time in politics. They voted for her as governor. I don't see where you see any barriers thereafter.
Because they voted for her as governor in the specific area she comes from.
Yes.
You widen it. And take in other counties within that region.
Who are the contenders? Who is she pitted up against? Moses Kuria? Njeri? I heard Munya, who comes from Meru, which wouldn't make sense.
This is what Njeri was saying.
What do you mean wouldn't make sense?
Now that you mentioned...
Just wait.
Munya is Meru.
So?
It's
Where
Mount
would
Kenya.
he be heading up Mount Kenya? Kikuyus?
No, but
Mount Kenya.
Yeah. Mount Kenya region is Embu, Meru, Kirinyaga, Kiambu, Murang'a.
My bad.
Listen to what Njeri said.
Kuna kieleweke, kuna tangatanga. Lakini mimi nashindwa, kwa nini hapa Mount Kenya tu ndiye tunagawanyika zaidi kuliko wale wengine? Wale wengine wanasugumuza, ukiangalia ni sisi tunaendelea kugawanyika. Na kwa hivyo lazima tuchikane. Ili wakati wa kuzungumza tunajua rafiki yetu ni nani. Na huwezi kutuelezea kwa hii miaka yote sisi ni wajinga sana, hatuwezi jua rafiki yetu ni nani. Na huyo rafiki tutauliza kanisa. Nyinyi Bishop Mudhuri, mnaona rafiki ni nani? Wewe Kiraito Moronge ndiye kiongozi wetu ambaye umekomaa saindi. Hawa marafiki unawajua wote. Umekaa na hawa miaka 20. Hakuna hujui zaidi ya miaka 15, 20. Na hiyo yote tunaielewa. Mimi mwenyewe nawaelewa wote. Nimekuwa hiyo bunge since 1997. Tulikula kiapo siku moja na William Ruto. Kwa hivyo hii safari yote tumeiona niko huko bunge. Nimeona Raila Odinga akiwa kwa opposition akienda kwa serikali. Nimeona Kalonzo Musyoka akiwa kwa serikali akiingia kwa opposition. Nimeona Mudavadi na wale wengine wote. Na watu waache kuzungumza sana. Manake nyani haoni kundure. Lakini hayaona la mwenzake. Ukifungua mdomo jua tunakujua pia wewe. Hakuna mtu hatujui historia yake. Hakuna mtu hana historia yake. Kwa hivyo sugumuza, but days are coming. Kama ni kuelezeana ukweli, itafika siku ya kuelezeana ukweli.
It almost sounded like he was about to say, kama ujue days are coming, kitaeleweka. It almost sounded like that.
You know, the
conversation we are having this morning is on succession politics come 2022. Well, we've gone from Western region, we are in Mount Kenya region, but also be looking at all the other regions this morning. Our telephone number, we'd love to know what you think. 0719-012-600. That's 0719-012-600. You are in the Situation Room. Eric Latiff, Okoh, Njeri Thorne, and CT Muga. Good morning. It's 8 o'clock.